My wife, Lena, crochets a lot and often gives her creations to friends and family. When her second oldest brother got married, she made the bride a shawl to wear over her dress in the evening. The bride loved it, and ever since, Lena has made shawls for everyone in her family getting married. Now Lena's oldest brother George is getting married again. Lena doesn't have a relationship with George, as he was abusive to her as a child, but if she has to see him, she's polite but distant with him. She doesn't want to cut off the rest of her family because of George. I work with George, and while we aren't friends, we are friendly at work. When George got moved to my team, I was going to request a transfer, not wanting to expose Lena to George, as my team does a lot of get-togethers with our significant others. As it's a family wedding, Lena's mom asked her if she could crochet a shawl for George's fiancée, and Lena agreed. It was arranged that once it was finished, I would take it to work to give to George, so that Lena didn't have to see him. Earlier this week, the shawl was completed, and I emailed George at work to let him know that I would bring it in today, as the wedding is tomorrow. When I got into work this morning, I gave George the shawl and let him know that Lena and I were looking forward to the wedding. Come lunchtime, Lena called me to let me know that George's fiancée had called, and told her she was no longer invited to the wedding. She cited the place they were having the wedding and the reception at as too small for the number they have coming, so they're having to make cutbacks. However, I was still invited to the wedding. I was mad at this because they clearly only invited Lena to get a shawl, which to me is just rude. If they had asked Lena outright to make one, she probably would have done so because she loves to crochet. On my way out of work, I noticed George wasn't at his desk, but the shawl was. I was still mad that they had used Lena to get a shawl, and I just shoved it in my work bag. I left a note on his desk telling George that since Lena was no longer invited, the shawl and I would no longer be attending either. On my way home, I told Lena what I had done and asked her if she wanted to go out instead so not to waste having a sitter. Lena was upset that I had taken the shawl because it was causing an uproar in her family group chat, where people were calling her petty because I took it back. Lena wants me to give it back. I don't think I should. They don't deserve Lena's kindness. However, at the same time, I don't want Lena to be upset with me over George and a shawl. Am I the idiot for taking back the shawl? Edit. I've messaged the group chat, letting them know that I took it, and if they should be angry at anyone, then it should be me. But I would also do it again because no one gets to be an idiot to my wife, not the idiot. OP, actually, you're the rock star for standing up to this childish behavior by George and his fiancée on behalf of your wife. The day before the wedding, and they do a head count for a wedding? No way. I bet if you had told them that you'd bring the shawl to the wedding, they would not have uninvited Ina. There's a slight touch of idiocy in doing this without your wife's permission, but again, in my opinion, that's what made you the rock star. Lena needs to stand up for herself though, and not be a darn doormat for her family. If they think it's fine that Lena gets uninvited but think Lena's petty for you taking the shawl back, then why on earth is there still any contact with them? Keep the darn thing and convince her she owes them nothing. Why are they upset about him uninviting his own sister to his wedding? If she insists on you giving it back, just tell her you lost it or whatever, and she shouldn't let others walk all over her. She's playing them while they mistreat her. Exactly why would OP, the unrelated husband, be invited but not the younger sister? They waited until they got what they wanted, and then got rid of the person her brother clearly hates. He probably gets a thrill when he knows he is nice to him, thinking he's got one over on his sister. You're standing up for your wife, even if she can't stand up for herself because of years of treatment like this from her brother and family. Update. Am I the idiot for taking back a shawl my wife made after she was uninvited from the wedding? So everyone will be glad to know that I've not given George back the shawl. I mean, part of the reason I haven't given him back is because he's on his honeymoon. I hope it has rained for the 2 weeks, but even if he wasn't, I still wouldn't give it back. Later that evening, Lena apologized for being mad at me. She said that she should never have agreed to make the shawl in the first place and was grateful I had taken it back. Lena and I had a long discussion about her family and how they treat her. I told her that I would always stand up for her when it comes to her family because I will stand strong when she can't. I asked her what she thought about going low contact. We were already low contact with George, his now wife, and his mom. Lena said that she wanted to go no contact with George, his wife, her mom, and to go low contact with everyone else, but her second oldest brother and his wife. We'll call them Michael and Sarah. And to show me that she's left, she deleted the chat. We both have blocked everyone but Michael and Sarah. I'm going to wait a couple of weeks before I approach therapy for Lena again. I just want the dust to settle a bit, as I don't want her to feel pushed into anything. The story the bride-to-be gave Lena about there not being enough space was nonsense. Michael confirmed that George had told him weeks ago that they were well under numbers for their venue. It was just a bad attempt at a power move. I spoke with my manager and told him that Lena had made a shawl for George's wife, but they had given a bad reason for uninviting her to the wedding the day before the wedding, and I took it back. When I told my manager this, he sighed heavily before telling me that he wished I hadn't taken the shawl back because George could make things difficult for me, but that he would have done exactly the same thing because George was a nightmare. I told him that I'd like to move to another team because it wasn't good for Lena to have to be around him. He told me to leave it with him and he'd see what he could do. I heard back on Monday that I'd be getting moved to another team at the end of the week. The other team is desperate for someone. The day of the wedding, Michael called Lena and asked what our plans had been for the day. Michael knew that Lena wasn't invited to the wedding, and rightly assumed that I wouldn't go if she wasn't welcome. Lena told him that we had planned to go out for dinner and drinks. Michael told her that sounded like a plan and to text him where we were going for dinner. Michael and Sarah had decided to skip the wedding after seeing the meltdown of George, his wife, and their mom in the group chat. Apparently, they continued spouting abuse at Lena even though she had left the group chat. When the family turned on me and our children, that's when Michael and Sarah decided they weren't going to the wedding at all. They were just going to go to the ceremony after Lena had been uninvited. Michael had seen George's abuse of Lena firsthand. He had tried to protect Lena when he could, but there was only so much he could do as a child himself. He didn't want to be on the receiving end of George's temper either. As an adult, he took the first chance he had to move away from his family, while only maintaining contact with Lena. So, he went out with Michael and Sarah, having a much better night than we would have done at the wedding. There were no snide comments, no belittling, nothing. Lena was happy as she got to see Sarah, and that was what she was looking forward to. Lena being happy was all I wanted. It's all I ever want, my family to be happy. Both Michael's and Sarah's phones did keep going off all night long, as mother-in-law and George kept messaging them, angry at their non-attendance. Especially after Michael posted a picture of the four of us together having drinks on Facebook, with a caption about how he was choosing Lena over George going forward, because she doesn't use people to get what they want like George did. Over a crochet shawl, Michael admitted to me later that he did this to anger George because he'd have a meltdown at the reception, and then his in-laws could see what an idiot he actually is. Given the gleeful messages I got from Michael last week after he had heard back from a cousin who attended, George had a complete meltdown. Lena considered unraveling the shawl, but she found it difficult to undo all her hard work, which I understand after talking with Sarah about what to do with it. She's decided that she's going to keep it, but she'll it. Michael suggested that she wear it to the family Christmas. Michael and I are at the same level of pettiness, as I had previously suggested that I could wear it to work when George is back. I didn't tell Lena many people were calling her a doormat or saying she needs to grow a spine. Those people clearly haven't had their spirit completely broken by people who were meant to love them unconditionally, or were completely cut out of family events when George graduated from Muni. Lena was left at home. She was 8 years old and left home alone all day. Christmas was spent mostly in her bedroom because her grandmother didn't want Lena around, as her presence would just upset George. Until she was 14, then she would sneak out and spend it with me and my family. Lena was just left out of everything. Her dad used to work away from home a lot, so we had no idea what was going on. He just assumed Lena liked her own space, not that she would just stay in her room because she was used to being neglected by her family. Anyway, we're going no contact with George, his wife and Lena's mom. Lena's keeping the shawl, and we will discuss therapy in the future. Thank you all. I'm so glad to see this update. I'm glad Lena has you in her corner, and I'm glad you all got together with Michael and Sarah. The petty part of my soul relishes the part about a man dressed in his usual clothes with a shawl covering everything. Be sure to walk close to George's desk sipping a cup of coffee, and chat a little with colleagues around. Enjoy your time, you are a good husband. I hope George's new wife and George's mother get everything they have coming to them. Please enjoy your peaceful lives away from all that toxicity. My 2 oldest kids are in college and working part-time to earn spending money. They live at home and we pay for their tuition, cars, insurance, and basically everything except their spending money. I have a small construction company and run a crew of about 15 men, including my son. Lately we've been mainly doing roofing jobs. My son's job is to help remove the old shingles, pick up any shingles that miss the dumpster, and help prep the roof once the installation starts. He delivers a steady stream of shingles, nails, and other materials to the nailers. It's a dangerous and challenging job, so I pay him about $25 an hour. My daughter works as a cashier, but most of the time she's standing at the self-checkout lanes and rarely behind the register. She's paid about $15 an hour. Last weekend, my son bought his girlfriend a new iPhone for Valentine's Day, and he was talking about the restaurant he would take her to since it's an expensive phone. In the restaurant, my daughter asked where he got the money, which led to how much I paid him, and she got mad. He's been working with me for about 4 months, but she's never shown any interest in what we do or asked anything about his job or pay, so it surprised her. The short version of a week-long argument in our house is that she thinks it's unfair that he's making so much more than she is. I offered her the same hourly wage if she wanted to join her brother on the roof, but she went once and didn't finish the day. Instead, she wants us to compensate for the difference in their paychecks. My wife thinks I should find an easier job, like just letting her pick up the shingles that miss the dumpster. I said that is an easier job and I'm not paying her $25 an hour for a minimum wage job. I told her she could make as much as her brother, but she didn't want to carry the heavy, dirty shingles. So now both women are giving me the silent treatment. Last night my wife went so far as to eat dinner with our daughter before my son and I got home, and 6 and later went to bed without saying a word to me all night. Am I the idiot for not filling the pay gap? Edit. My wife doesn't work. She stays home and cares for our younger kids. I didn't make it clear, but our daughter works for a grocery store, not for me. I have a very small company with 15 men. I have 2 crews on large jobs or 3 on smaller jobs. There's no bookkeeping or other position she can do because I do those on the weekends. There were only construction positions, and none of our kids are interested in taking over my company. It'll close when I retire. Our son just got accepted into dental school, and our daughter's almost done with her education. Our younger kids have their own dreams. Not the idiot. This is a valuable lesson for both of your children, who must rely on themselves to earn what they want. How would your son feel if his sister, who quit the same more taxing job he performs daily, got a free ride because she stomped her feet and threw a tantrum? And how would your daughter behave in the cruel world if you gave in now? She would go up to people she isn't related to and demand things she hasn't earned, or turn down key career opportunities because she thinks she can and should start at the top right away. And their mother, holy cow, she needs to set her perspective as an adult straight, or maybe get some roof time in. I hate to reread it, but his daughter doesn't even work for him. She works for a totally different employer. The entitlement is gross. Oh, you're the only sane adult here. Some things must be learned and not twisted at home to create the wrong expectations regarding the real world. Wonder what mom would say if the daughter was doing complex office tasks and making more than their son. OP, your wife isn't doing feminism any favors if your daughter can do the work but chooses not to. That's her choice. I tell my kids, choose your consequences. You've offered your daughter the opportunity to make the same pay as your son. She's chosen her consequence. So I 23 male am dating Kelly 25 female. Kelly has 2 very lovely mothers, Gina, 64, and Stacy, 71, with whom I get along quite well. The problem relevant to this post is that Stacy has a history of lying about things, both serious and not serious, which Kelly has complained to me about a few times. While the lying does bother me, mainly because it hurts Kelly's feelings and stresses her out, Kelly says she's trying to let it go, and has just come to accept it as part of her mother's personality. I went to run errands with Stacy last week, and when she forgot her wallet, I thought it was a genuine mistake. She is in her 70s, she's forgetting things, it's no big deal. I'll buy her the couple of things she needs, and she'll get it back to me when she can. It wasn't until later that day when I was along with Kelly and recounting my day that she stopped me and asked if Stacy had asked me to pay for something. I said yes, and Kelly explained that she does this to everybody. If they agree to go with her somewhere and she has or wants to buy something, she claims she forgot her wallet, asks you to pay and promises to pay you back but rarely follows through. This was upsetting to hear, as I also don't like to be lied to, and hadn't experienced Stacy lying to me yet. It's also not even about money for Stacy, as she has quite a bit to her name, no debt, and Gina pays most of the bills anyway. Yesterday, Stacy asked me to come with her again for errands because she needed to pick up some things, and they were too heavy for her to handle. I agreed, and before we walked out the door I said, "Oh wait, I forgot something," and went and grabbed my jacket. I asked her if she was sure she also had everything she needed, specifically listing her wallet, keys, phone, and she said yes. I asked if she had checked before we stepped outside, and she said yes again. So on we went, and after the initial errands we stopped at the drugstore. She asked me to grab her something while I was inside, claiming she had forgotten her wallet again. The conversation went like this. "I thought you said you had everything you needed before we left." Her. "I did. I guess I was wrong." Me. "You said you checked her." "I did." "So, did you lie to me about having your wallet, or did you lie to me about checking for it?" Her. "I don't know what you're talking about." Me. "Do you really not have it with you? Or are you lying about that too?" Her. "Why are you having this attitude with me?" Me. "Why did you lie to me?" Her. "It's not a big deal if you don't want to help me. I'm going home." Me. "I don't have an attitude. I'm just not going to deal with you lying to me. Lying has consequences." She was angry to say the least and gave me the cold shoulder after this. Kelly says she hasn't come out of her room since we got back from errand yesterday. Did I go overboard here? Not the idiot, obviously. This is her long habit, and she isn't used to being called out for it. She's avoiding people because she's both embarrassed and angry. If you wanted her to rethink her habit, then you succeeded. Stacy may not even realize what game she's playing when she says, "I forgot my wallet." What she means is, "Please buy this for me." Gina hasn't figured this out yet, nor has Kelly. They either pay or don't. I suggest you do the same in the future. Although I suspect it may be a while before she tries this again with you. Good for you for refusing to be scammed a second time. Stacy messed around and found out. Be prepared to be treated badly, and or be iced out by her from now on. My grandmother was a chronic liar, and at least in my experience just not playing along worked well, if not better, than confronting her. Just "Nope, I don't have money to buy you something," a few times and moved on. Just wise to make sure you're not creating drama for your girlfriend.